Just a reminder, public questions is 10 minutes. I am going to be a little bit lenient because there's a number of questions coming in, but it will be monitored, okay? So the next is from Mr. Ben Golightly.
Hi, Ben Golightly from Disabled People Against Cuts and the Socialist Party. Councillors, shockingly, this budget says it contains no provision for increased cost and reduction in income due to welfare cuts. And councillors, if you think this budget is fit for your medium-term forecast or even for the next year, you're in for a shock, because this budget won't even be fit for the next month, when people newly unable to work due to disability will be more than £200 a month worse off, and there's far worse to come. And councillors, if I were you, I'd be furious with the UK government for leaving you in that position. But you can't say you weren't warned. Disabled People Against Cuts Cymru urged you to lift a finger against the disability cuts last year. You should have stood with us then, when, by the way, we helped defeat and delay several billions more in disability cuts. You've sat tight for 15 years and waited for a Labour government to save you. I think those hopes have been dashed and it's all downhill from here. This is the only relatively favourable year, and it's your last chance, really, to take a stand and campaign for the funding Swansea needs.
Excuse me, Mr. Golightly, you're not asking a question, you're making a statement, and there's no one here what I got in front of me, so can you get to your question, please? Thank you.
Nearly finished that. So my question is, will you vote no to this budget and start again? And will you rebuke the UK government for its disability cuts, voted for by 25 out of the 26 Welsh Labour MPs, in fact, designed by the Swansea West MP Torsten Bell? And will you call for the funding at all levels, Council, Welsh Government, UK Government, in line with TUC policy, for a needs budget to end what the UN already calls the continuing grave or systemic violations of the rights of disabled people in the UK? Thank you.
It was not the question I was prepared to answer, but I will do my best anyway. And I would like to thank Mr. Golightly for the question. It does raise, really important issues of national and local concern. I do really want to state as well that personally, I do very much support the aims of Disabled People Against the Cuts. In previous life in 2010, when DPAC was being formed in Birmingham, at that point, I was Secretary of Dudley Trades Council, and we were involved in the anti-cuts campaign that grew out because of the Conservative Liberal Democrat government, which started that 14 years of austerity that you've referred to. I'm very aware of the additional costs that disabled people and their families face spending more on essential goods and services, heating, insurance, equipment and therapies, meaning disabled people are much more likely to have lower standard of living. Also wanted to highlight, as it's International Women's Day coming up, what the Equality and Human Rights Commission call the double whammy of being a disabled woman in the UK, as the imbalance of power and discrimination is even more acute. Just under half of disabled women are neither employed or actively seeking work. If you do have a job, there's a disability pay gap, in some cases as large as 18.9%. And it also needs to be noted that disabled women are disproportionately at risk of all forms of violence and abuse from carers, partners and people in the community. And women with learning disabilities and mental health conditions are more likely to experience sexual violence. So yes, the impact of austerity, the cuts, as you have said in your question, has left councils to take up the shortfall and increase the pressure on services. So we do share, many of your concerns around national changes. I know the leader, myself, cabinet colleagues always lobby for governments of whatever political hue in Westminster and in Cardiff to ensure that local councils are fully funded for the impacts of their decisions. As the leader set out in the answer to the previous question, savings and efficiencies are just one side of our overall budget package. Unequivocally, even after the 6.6 million mentioned, net cash for social services is being increased by this council by over £12 million. The percentage increase is higher than our funding increase percentage, evidencing we are clearly prioritising social care. I did have some more specific things which were in your original question, but you have not asked those, so I'll leave that there. I can give you a written answer to that if you'd prefer.
Thank you, Councillor Gibbard.